I want to talk about the New Orleans Saints' final stand. As, look, when things are bad, you know it's still good beating the Falcons, right? It's like, let's say you were down on your luck and you suddenly found yourself jobless and homeless. It's an awful situation. Somebody stops and gives you $5 or $10. It's not going to solve your situation. But you know what, Mario? You're going to get a burger. And that's going to make you feel a little better for a little bit, okay? This is your burger. This Sunday in the Dome against those crappy Falcons. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Some more LSU transfer portal news. I want to talk about 2024 college football, as it looks like we could be looking at a completely different game in just a couple of years. And, of course, we have Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson and some other topics. But let's start with the New Orleans Saints, because, like I said, this is an awful season, a lost season for both these Saints and the Falcons, maybe even more so the Saints not having a first-round pick. But if we think back, Jake, you know, a lot of times during the holidays, what do? You get nostalgic. You start to think about memories and where you came from, what you knew growing up. And for many of you listening who are older than I am, and people my age may remember some of this, for decades, for the 60s, late 60s, 70s, 80s, most of the 90s, the New Orleans Saints and Falcons, it was tradition for them to be completely irrelevant to the NFL as a whole, to not be threatening the playoffs, to not mean anything in the NFL, but to battle each other tooth and nail with every bit of passion, energy, and fight that they had. It's like those old bum fight videos that used to be on the early internet. Like that was the Saints and Falcons rivalry for decades, and that's what it is once again. And so, no, I don't care about, actually, if you win this game, you're going to be back in it for the NFC South. I don't care about winning the division. I don't care about making the playoffs. All I care about is beating the Atlanta Falcons, because life may suck right now, but it can suck a little less if you manage to sweep the Falcons this year. And if you're Dennis Allen, like the same way that A&M game meant nothing for LSU's overall season, but you're seeing the subsequent fallout, there would be no questions about Jaden Daniels or anything had you gone out and just beaten Texas A&M. Well, this is an even bigger situation. Dennis Allen, nobody's going to suddenly be super over the moon with you if you win, but I'll be damned. If you lose to a Falcons team starting Desmond Ridder, a rookie, your defensive guy starting a rookie in his first ever start, if you lose that game, that will be the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back. So, it's an awful year, but again, what feels good? Beating your arch rival not once, but twice in a year, and you have a golden opportunity, Jake, to do it at home this Sunday.
You do have a golden opportunity, but you also have exactly what you're talking about, T. If you don't get it done, it's like, oh, my God. You just lost to a Falcons team with a quarterback playing his first snaps in your own building, and you said it perfectly. You're a defensive guy. You cannot allow that to happen, and it doesn't get much easier after this. You have to go on the road to Cleveland. You're not exactly sure where Cleveland's at right now, which team you're going to get.
It's in Ohio.
What?
You said you're not exactly sure where Cleveland's at. It's in Ohio.
Oh, dang it, Bobby.
I forgot what I was going to say.
I liked it, but it was too long of a pause for me to not hit it.
I'm so sorry. Dude, I'm so sorry. It popped it. It was no filter brain to mouth. You're not exactly sure where Cleveland's at right now.
Right. I was so confused.
I know.
I was like, yeah, hi. I'm like, yeah, I said the game's in Cleveland. And then you have to go on the road to Philly.
I apologize.
So that's
get back in the flow.
No, you got it. I'm lost.
Okay, well then let me give you another prompt here then. Now, you were never part of it. You were never part of like a truly lost NFL team though, right? Mm-mm. So I don't know then if you but maybe you had teammates that were.
I mean, we could have been lost at the 4-8 year I always talk about, but
yeah, but y'all managed to finish, right?
Found a way, yeah.
Which okay, maybe that even then is some sort of hope. If you want to go that far with your hope, maybe then you can gain from Jake's own experience there. But I'm sure you've had teammates who've gone through this. And look, on the college level, especially, maybe this changes a bit more as it becomes more professionalized, but especially in the recent eras, what college football has always been, Jake, players live and die on these rivalry games.
Right.
fans in the NFL live and die on these rivalry games. How much do they mean to the players?
A lot.
Like, do you think that these Saints players, even in this year bad, do they want to beat the Falcons as badly as the fan base wants them to?
I think so. At least for me, in my careers, like if we played the Raiders, we wanted to mess them up.
Yeah.
Like it was a real deal. Like no matter where we were, if we were at their place, certainly in the Oakland Coliseum and the Black Hole and all of that. But also, like, if we played them in San Diego, they had a large portion of the stadium as well. Like, so it was an intense environment because they were the L.A. Raiders, obviously, and so they still had a huge fan base there in Southern California. But you felt it. It was college-like. You didn't like the Raiders. They didn't like you. And it's kind of still that way. And it was like that for other teams in the West, but certainly the Raiders, actually both places I played, like the Raiders were the team that you kind of got up for a little bit. There's like extra juice that weekend.
They were just the most hated AFC West team over anything. Was it as simple as they made you play in a baseball field? Like in a crappy dirt baseball field, and that just makes you angry?
Yeah, in the year of our Lord, like 2008, like why are we playing on a baseball field?
In the U.S.'s most successful and rich professional league.
Yes. And one of the franchises has been around the longest, and we used to have to like change our cleats. Like we used to have to go like to the old ball Sharks because if you had on like the cleats that at that time that everybody wore, like you would slip around all around the infield, and that dirt was as hard as concrete because at that like the A's are Bush League as well, but like they didn't really get it ready for a football. God, so bad. I forgot about that.
So
it hurt like hell too.
It's funny how quickly our minds can change because seeing this picture, and if you're listening on the radio, we're looking at a picture of the Oakland Coliseum with the diamond right there on the 50, the infield stretching from 20 to 20. That is that feels kind of beyond. It feels kind of beyond comprehension. Like it feels beyond the pale that could exist in the country's most successful sports league. But that's the Raiders. That's Oakland. But the point of all this is...
Our stadium used to be a baseball stadium, the Murph, but I never played in it because Petco was built.
And so, but the point of all of this is simply that you do believe that the players want this very badly, that in this lost year they're not checked out, and that they know what's on the line, and that they desperately... I mean, I know Cam Jordan does. There's nothing Cam Jordan loves more than beating the Atlanta Falcons. You do believe, though, that they will be amply motivated to protect the Dome and win at home on Sunday.
As much as you can be. I know 4-9's tough, but it's a little bit different. So 4-9 in the NFL is completely different than if you were, 3-8 in college because, like in college, it's over. Mm-hmm. Now that might change now with the transfer portal and getting in it and having value, but for the most part,
So
for the most part, it's like, okay, well, our season's done. I'm going to be here next year anyways, and I want to be motivated, but I'm not really. In the NFL, you're playing for your job every single week.
Yes.
So if you go out there half stepping, like it's not like college where you're guaranteed to be back there. They will cut you. Mm-hmm. You won't have, and you're putting bad tape out there. So when you're a free agent, they're like, oh, when times get tough, this is what you put on tape. So there is a different motivation in the NFL compared to college. Like the Saints probably have 5 players that could kind of get away with whatever they want. The Falcons, hell, they might have 2. I mean, I can't name them, but they might have 2. So it's a little bit different. Like the motivation part of it isn't something you have to really worry about. If you have a team that's quitting, like the Raiders did much of the 2000s, like you're just a bad franchise and you're going to have a roster that just turns over every single year with like 35 new players.
Well, and the Raiders this year look like they could be potentially quitting as well. If you've heard us reference Desmond Ridder starting, that was a decision that was made during the bye week for Atlanta that they would give the rookie his first start. Remember Desmond Ridder, the Cincinnati quarterback under Mike Denbrock with the Bearcats, and they made the playoff. Have you seen some of the Marcus Mariota drama? It's kind of wild. Now they're trying, it looks like, to cover it up by saying now that he's having season-ending knee surgery for a knee issue, though he has not been listed on a single injury report the entire year. But reportedly, Marcus Mariota was told he wasn't going to start, Jake, and he just walked away from the team. He just said, I'm taking a break. I'm stepping right. He's a man who got a $4 million signing bonus from the Falcons this year with a salary over $1 million. You got to be real comfortable about your situation to not stick around and finish that thing out just because you were not named starter.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's at any level.
I mean,
you
Dan,
can't.
it's
You can be mad.
retiring,
It's
I
the
feel like.
Giarania stuff.
Yeah.
Like the same thing we talked about yesterday. Like you can be upset and you can have bad body language. I've been there. You've been there. We have all been there. Jay Cutler lives with bad body language.
Yeah. Always shooting strays at you.
But like you can't leave,
No.
especially if you're the quarterback.
Peace
Like
out.
you have to be in the building. Like if you would have played well and if you would have done the things that you needed to do, you'd still be what? You'd still be the starter.
Yeah.
Right? And you'd make it difficult. Now, Ritter, they drafted him, not high enough for him to be inserted just because,
Yeah.
but they want to get a look at him.
This is a good point.
Your season's kind of over right now, even though you're in a bad South. Like the Panthers are playing better than you, the Bucks are playing better than you. So you got to swallow a hard pill to swallow, and you got to be in the building, or you got to get that money back. They will go to court. The NFL will go to court over some small amount of money.
That's what I'm saying. Like
at a principal.
Exactly. And so that's what where I get is to being real comfortable. Like you got to be real comfortable financially with where you're at.
I mean,
I'll
give you an example. So
and that signing bonus.
So one of my last year in the NFL, I was kind of teeter-tottering a little bit. Like, do I still want to play? Is this what I want to do? And I had a signing bonus of $65,000.
Damn, not even $4 million.
Right. So just tiny amount of money.
So what year
in the
this
NFL.
was the league?
6.
Okay, so this is kind of equivalent to my $308 signing bonus. Just extrapolated into being a 6-year vet.
But you like 6, yeah, 6, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No,
Yes.
it's like the equivalent of
My
getting
rookie
like
signing bonus
$300
was way more.
Yeah.
So I'm on a 1-year contract, and honestly, my agent's like, look, they don't even have to offer you a signing bonus. And it's like, here's a bone. And I was like, and I was talking to my agent. I'm like, man, this isn't very fun anymore. He's like, look, I get it. If you want me to like handle everything, like you don't have to do this. He's like, now you got to get back to 65,000. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, because he said they'll come after you for $65,000. And I'm like, well, yeah. And like, I'm like, well, they should. I mean, I signed for a service, but that's my example. Like, $65,000, they're gonna come for their money.
Yeah. And Marcus Mariota's gonna have to give it back, I suppose, unless they do manage to smooth it over under the guise of a knee injury. But look, it's a rookie quarterback, Desmond Ritter, who wasn't thought to be, the premier of the class. They may end up being very good, right? But Dennis Allen, your defensive guy, there's no excuse. Maybe one of the excuses would be the injury report, which is laughable at this point. As I guess it didn't get printed on the page, but Nick Underhill had in a tweet, Dan, if you want to look at it, it is hilarious. The Saints have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 players listed on their injury report. The Falcons have 2, one of them being Marcus Mariota. But look, a lot of that's limited, so a lot of those guys are going to play. You mentioned a bad NFC South. Last thing before we move on here. The NFC South, Jake, is doing some Sickos Committee NFL edition stuff, or has the potential to. As Roger Sherman yesterday pointed out on Twitter, and it's quite easy how you arrive here, it's actually mathematically possible that every single team in the NFC South finish 6-11. Every single team, which is hard to do at the beginning of a year, but at this point, every single team finished 6-11. It's very simple. It would require the South losing their 6 remaining non-divisional games, of which will be underdogs in 4, as Sherman points out. It would require the Panthers and Falcons both beating the Bucks, and then the Panthers and Falcons both losing to the Saints. None of that sounds that ridiculous. And if that happens, the Carolina Panthers will win the division with every single team being 6-11. You are the Big Ten West. I guess the question is, can you manage to be Purdue? I don't care about any of that. I really don't care about the division. I just thought that was funny. All I care about is beating the Falcons. Beat your rival and add some modicum of a silver lining to this garbage year. It is Dennis Allen's final stand. If you lose this game, make no mistake, that's a wrap. I believe that. I'm not saying that from any inside info. We all know that the Saints are very hesitant to make such moves and such decisions rashly, but you're being tested right now. You're being stretched. You're being bent. How much can you take? And if you lose to Desmond Ritter, a rookie in the Superdome this late in the year, that will break the back.